Young man, laughed the farmer, you're sort of a fool. You'll never catch fish in McGilligut's pool. The pool is too small. And you might as well know it, when people have junk, here's the place that they throw it. You might catch a boot, or you might catch a can. You might catch a bottle, but listen, young man. If you sat 50 years with your worm and your wishes, you'd grow a long beard long before you'd catch fishes. Answered Marco. You might be right. I've been here 3 hours without one single bite. There might be no fish. But again, well, there might. 'Cause you never can tell what goes on down below. This pool might be bigger than you or I know. Opening lines of Dr. Seuss's McGilligut's Pool. Solve the World, a fictional adventure told in 100 episodes. Episode 89, The Crazy Ones. Tina's story. You're one of those crazy people that joined a cult when the apocalypse hit. Yes, that's right. One of those self-flagellating, humiliating, let's collectively tar and feather ourselves until the gods forgive us types. That's you. You're one of the cuckoos. You're that friend that everyone sneers at behind your back. You're the one that people say, "Ew, what happened to her?" Then when someone else says, "She joined a cult," the people always say the same thing. "She was always a little off, wasn't she?" But that's not the really crazy part. The really crazy part, the lock her up in a loony bin part, is that you believe the apocalypse predates the bombs and the lonely plague. The apocalypse, my friends, was the advent of social media. It killed us. Almost all of us. Just wiped us out. You should know. You have what's known as prosopagnosia, also known as face blindness. In each of you out there, there's a specific part of the brain dedicated to analyzing people's faces. You don't have that part. It's missing. MIA. It's not like color blindness or actual blindness. It's not that you're literally not seeing something, not seeing faces. It's just you don't collect the distinctiveness. You were 7 when you were first diagnosed by a doctor. Your mom had left you at the mall, and you were supposed to meet up with her at 1:30. She came up from behind you, grabbed your hand, and started walking. You screamed. This was maybe understandable, except that you didn't calm down when your mother started talking to you, looking you in the eyes. You screamed out, "Stranger danger, stranger danger," several times. And then you gave it away. You cried out for your mother. You screamed, "Mommy, Mommy." The way the doctor first explained it was like this. Imagine a bowl of fruit. There's bananas, oranges, kiwis, pears, maybe some apples, all mixed up in the bowl. Now, imagine someone taking the bowl away, then setting out all the fruit in front of you, telling you to organize the fruit, putting it back in the bowl just as you saw it before. Now, you might get it right. It happens, sometimes, but you'll be unsure of yourself. The reason is simple. When you look at stuff, you take in that information casually. You see a bowl of fruit. That's it. Your brain isn't trained to memorize that that banana is wedged in between 2 kiwis, that green apple, and a pear. Your mind doesn't bother itself to prioritize that intel. The only thing that's important is that there's a bowl of fruit. For most people, looking at faces is prioritized in the brain. Extremely. Maybe this is a Darwinian trait to figure out who's attractive and who's not for procreation purposes. By the way, they say that I'm very beautiful, but I can't tell. Also, when you have this disease, don't try watching the movie Face Off. It's very confusing. You see, for you, you're missing the insight. When you look at a crowd, you might as well be looking at a herd of goats. Unless there's a specific goat which has a specific detail that's distinct, say, an extra large earring, a face tattoo, something like that, then you really can't tell one goat from the next. That is how someone with face blindness sees the world. One major consequence of face blindness is that stuff like magazines, billboards with famous actors, almost any marketing image bears no attraction to you. You can't tell if that movie features Channing Tatum or Steve Buscemi. So what you do is you end up not focusing on the images. Therefore, it's words that catch your interest. That's why you became a public relations consultant. What makes someone physically attractive confounds you. It's a mystery you'll never comprehend. So, it's all about words, sounds, taste, even smell for you. You were renowned as a consultant for articulating a person's non-physical appeal, extracting that and publishing it for the world to see, to understand, to comprehend, to ingest. You see, you knew exactly what fragrance to combine with that politician in order to leverage that politician's public speaking persona most effectively. You were great at your job. You developed quite the reputation. People came to you, begging, "Please, please, Tina, help me," they'd say. And you would. But then came the internet. At first, it brought with it that which you most love. Words. Email was a revelation, an especially lovely gift for those of us who specialized in press releases. Now you could go public with a flick of the wrist. Just press send. Branding was going to be a cinch with this newfangled interweb. But soon after that came the storm. Social media. And at the head of the class, the juggernaut of SM, Facebook. A book of faces. Can you imagine? A book meant to convey ideas almost entirely on the basis of facial recognition. This is hell for face-blind folks like myself. You know what social media brought with it. The Kardashians, the Justin Biebers of the world, Paris Hilton, worse yet, Perez Hilton. Ugh. SM brought with it the exaltation of the pariah class. Nate, Petra, and Jenna left Slovenia on Jenna's newly purchased fancy schmancy yacht. They left and begun sailing, all three of them most certainly ill-prepared for the adventure ahead of them. Had they had the likely unfortune of running into a squall, they would have been dashed to bits. Seamen, they were not. Yet, by hook or by crook, it just so happened that while the threesome ventured the high seas, Mother Nature smiled at them. The winds were calm and steady, the days sunny but not blistering, the nights cool and serene. At first, the great adventure overwhelmed all three of them, to the point of there not needing to be much communication between them at all. They were happy to be going, happy to be starting something new. For Jenna, the idea of newness itself was a breath of fresh air. That, and lest we forget, her Balaam. Jenna had bought the motherlode before leaving, and her addiction was now constant. She was continually high on the stuff. It no longer made her sleepy. In fact, she barely slept at all now. For life itself was the dream. La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da, da-da-da-da-da, Jen sang to herself night and day. The yacht, already christened the Intrepid before Jenna purchased it, skewered the seas as it breasted across the Atlantic Ocean. Jenna was not headed, as one might suppose, immediately to Erinamaru's island. Truth be told, she didn't know how to get there. She needed a compass, someone to light her way. That's why they needed to make a pit stop on the coasts of Maine first. And so, that's exactly what they did. There's not exactly much else to say about those initial days. The group got along well enough. Jenna watched her VHS copy of The Tree and the Resurrection every night before bed. Nate himself, once as big of a Balaam addict as anyone else, found himself actually distancing himself from the stuff once aboard the Intrepid. Jenna's change, going so quickly from fascinating individual to boring, disenfranchised, aloof thing, kinda scared him. By the second week at sea, he'd quit the stuff entirely. Jenna, on the other hand, had it down to a science. Balaam came in pill form, but she found that if she smashed the pills into powder, she could smoke the stuff in a pipe and keep her buzz going all day and all night. Taking a pill, you see, required some downtime from the stuff, but constantly puffing on the old flame kept the lights on, if you know what I mean. And truth be told, it was quite amusing to see this young girl walking around the deck of her ship with a pipe in her mouth all day long. But rather than continue to prattle on about the Intrepid, it is best now to turn our gaze briefly elsewhere. There's a girl, left alone to die some years back. She lives on a lonely island that technically is constituted in the archipelago aptly named Tierra del Fuego, Land of Fire. This girl, well, there's nothing really girlish left about her. She's only 28, but her heart, just as the land surrounding her, is on fire. You see, many bad things happened to this girl as a child. She was abused by a group of ruthless men that treated her like cattle. She never knew her mother. She never knew affection either. At least, nothing close to anything that resembled kindness from the likenesses of men. She has, in time, found comfort amidst the animal kingdom of southern South America. In particular, she has a sort of friendship with a family of gray foxes that inhabit her island, and besides the foxes, she has terms of peace with most of the local flora and fauna, including the ducks, geese, muskrats of the area, and of course, the condors. She is not on friendly terms with the parrots. Jennifer Dash's journey will never bring her to Tierra del Fuego. She will never meet the girl, woman, that heretofore we shall refer to as the Zealot. The Zealot worships 4 gods. Her religion is old, having been brought down orally, generation through generation. Living on her own for so long, she's had to fill in the gaps in order to make the stories logical. I'll say again, her religion is old, almost as old as mankind itself, but she's made it her own. Her radicalism is something of her own force of will and imagination. The theology of the Zealot far surpasses that which could be explained quickly here. Nevertheless, we shall try, if nothing else, than to just give you a sense of it, even if we butcher the faith in the retelling. So, here it goes. There's the goddess Tree. She is not a tree. She is beyond tree. To put it one way, to say Judeo-Christianize it, trees are made in the image of goddess tree. There's the god air, but air is not a good representation. Something really small, like an atom, is perhaps a better comparison. For the god air is the god which all microscopic life forms are made in the image of. The zealot, similarly, believes that she is alive because millions upon millions of living things, some of which are the image bearers of god air, are working in cooperation to animate herself. In this way, she is one, and she is many. The zealot is one, but the zealot is made up of many. The zealot believes that the god air is ruler over all the small, indecipherable beings, the invisibles. Often when something truly unexpected happens, something utterly profound, the zealot believes that it is because the god air caused the invisibles in the wind, or in the earth, or in the water, to do something unexpected. Unlike many Eastern religions, the zealot has no concept of fate. She is, however, to one degree or another, a determinist. If the god air wishes for something to pass, then his invisible minions will make it so. Next is the goddess of the parrots. For the most part, this spirit is much like Loki of the Vikings, Coyote of the Native Americans, Anansi of the African folktales, or Elarera of the rabbits. The parrot goddess is mischievous, finding success not in hard work and gumption, but by trick and by con. To the zealot, the parrot goddess is all that's wrong with the world. For just as real parrots can pretend to talk, the goddess pretends to have virtue, pretends to be noble, but when looked at with true eyes, she is seen for what she is, a fraud. It is perhaps best to pause here to describe in brief the zealot's creation story. The four spirits lived for eternity in nothingness. But, being spirit and none other, they could not separate one from each other. For the cosmos was made up of only spirit. The four huddled together and discussed what could be done to delineate themselves one from another. It was decided then that they would inject the ideas of themselves into creation. It started with four. The goddess tree created a tree, and to this day trees bear her likeness. Goddess of the parrots came next, and after her, the goddess Condor. Lastly, the god Air chose to fasten in his likeness creatures so small that they seemingly were spirits themselves. But don't be fooled. In this way then, by combining aspects of all four spirit gods, the rest of creation was formed. Each creature under heaven, then, is made up of parts of all four primal gods. God Air, choosing invisibles as his image bearers, is in everything in much larger quantity than the rest. That is why he alone is ascribed the male gender, for he fits into all things. Now we come to an explanation of goddess Condor, and the zealot's role here on earth. For so the zealot believes, long ago the goddess Parrot wanted to prove that she was the best of the gods, that her creations, her image bearers, were the wisest, strongest, most virtuous of all creation. But goddess Condor was truly and obviously superior. The condor, as compared to the parrot, could fly faster, kill larger prey, see farther, and was clearly smarter, though it didn't disparage its intelligence by yapping all day like the parrots. The wise one knows, after all, that it is far better to continually listen than to speak. The condor goddess is a simple spirit. She, above all else, values justice. She is the epitome of hard work and excellence through labor. She embodies reaping what you sow. She is the platonic ideal of progress. The parrot goddess figured that in order to be queen of the cosmos, goddess Condor had to be eliminated. She had to kill her. But how? Goddess Condor was smarter, faster, bigger, stronger. So, she did what so many vain women in history have done. She seduced to gain power. She chose as an ally the air god. She seduced him with a promise of absolute power. She'd be his queen, he'd be her lord. It was a sham, of course, a fake promise, but he vowed to follow her command. And so he used his minions to poison the water, poison the deer, poison the sheep. He made it so that everything condors ate and drank became polluted. It was a genocide, the first atrocity of many, and it worked. Every last condor died, and the condor goddess having poured her identity out into creation, having made all condors to bear her likeness, couldn't bear not being shown in the world. Furthermore, it is impossible to live as a spirit alone in a physical kingdom. Goddess Condor died. Immediately, Goddess Parrot reneged on her promises to Air, insulting him for his stupidity in falling for her ploy. She became queen, and the world descended into chaos. She is also, you now see, the goddess of chaos, for her whole being can only mimic and parrot. It cannot be real and satisfying. The world under her tutelage became a fraud, became fake. Then, the miracle. One day, amidst the endless gray of a doomed, fraudulent world, a condor appeared. Out of nowhere. No one knew how. This was years and years and years and years and years and years after the very last condor had died. Condor Goddess had resurrected. Now, in order for the Condor Goddess to become her true full self once more, justice must be done. The Parrot Goddess must be destroyed, and the Air God along with his minions must be punished. Justice must be done on earth. For the Zealot, this means one thing: make thyself perfect. The math is simple. Humans are made up of two things: air minions and condor essence. The tree goddess is not in the stuff of mankind, and the parrot goddess only surfaces in the truly deranged individuals of the world. But it is an abomination to have air god minions in you, so you must live to purge yourself of his betraying essence. By doing good, by being absolutely perfect, by executing justice in all aspects of your day. This alone is how you can truly become air god free. Zealot believed in her religion more than any other human ever had. No one had ever successfully become all condor, no air god. It is believed that when one human did finally become free of air god, she would sprout wings and fly away from this wretched earth. This is the goal. Here's the Zealot's schedule. Sunrise. Wake up, bathe in the cool sea. Until mid-morning, run, sprint, work on building muscle and body. Mid-morning until high noon, gather materials for further treehouse construction. High noon to 1 hour later, hunt. Afternoon, work on construction for treehouse. Late afternoon, cook and eat meal. Sunset hours, laundry, chores, and providing food for local friends, for example, gray foxes. Early evening, pace around island, circulating mind and body, and imagining how to build a more momentous treehouse. Dark hours, build fire and recount the events of the day aloud. Just before bed, mark a notch in the wall above the bed in one of two spaces, good or impish. The Zealot has made a notch above her symbol for good every day for 1,348 days straight, meaning she hasn't deviated from her path for many years now. Every day, the same tasks. Build your body, your soul, your mind, and your home. That's the circle of every day. That's how you purge yourself of the air god invisibles, those wretched particles that keep you from perfection. But these last days had grown troublesome for the Zealot. She felt in her soul that she must be close. Close to perfection. How close? For many months now she had told herself, any day now my wings will come. I'll fly away. In her heart of hearts she wondered if one secret belief, a thought too heretical to ever speak aloud, even to herself, a thought too profane to ever let fully surface. In her secret-most place, the Zealot worried that this conviction was keeping her from perfection. She worried that until she finally unbelieved her secret thought, she'd never reach the stars. But how can you unbelieve something? You either believe it, or you don't. It's not like building muscle. It's not a simple task that you can work on. No force of will itself can make you unknow something. I tell you, the secret thought is this. In order for Goddess Condor to come back from the dead, there must be someone else, a fifth god of some sort, that brought her back, that gave her justice. And more than all that, this fifth god must be supreme to the other four, for he has power that the others are unaware of. This is the only reason why none of the stories would speak of him. This was the zealot's secret belief and her secret grief. We'll leave it to you to decide why it was then that the third card of humanity, the third and final world event to pass in the age of Jennifer Dash, came first to the zealot. She saw it, she experienced it, weeks before the rest of the world came to know. Do you think she would merely see it and leave it be? By no means. Zealots are not known for their inaction. She took her mantle and did what she believed must be done. This is a mystery that will never be answered. Why did it come to the zealot first? Was it her faithfulness to her gods? Was it a random coincidence? Was it fate? Or had she finally ridded herself of all of the air god stuff? And this was heaven's ultimate answer. To you, the devastation revealed itself slowly. What it did, ultimately, was make every post, every selfie, every "hey, look over here," an officially sanctioned press release. On initial examination, that might not sound like a bad thing. But it is. It's absolutely soul-crushing. You should know. You don't see it in the way everyone else does. You can't. Ladies and gentlemen of the room, you all have heard tales of certain folklore heroes rising up, slaying any wandering plagued person back in those horrible days just a few months ago. Yours truly is here to tell you that these urban myths are not mere legend. The one standing in front of you now was a hero as such. You took to arms, wielding a katana, nunchucks, and a Glock for backup, just in case. Into the streets you went. You mowed them down like zombies in a video game. 'Cause, you know, they were zombies. Real zombies. They were dead already, lest you forget. The reported cases of infected survivors is a stumbling block. Even if there are rare exceptions, it doesn't negate the fact. Each of you overvalues human life. You do it because your eyes tell you to. You're constantly pushing out press releases to the world. Look at my hair today, you all say. Check out the salmon platter at the swanky restaurant. Like my dress? All of it. All of it. Elevates yourselves up far farther than you deserve. You are not worthy of the attention you give yourself. Facebook, Twitter, etc., etc. It morphs the brain. Your brain. It morphs your brain. Changes it. It trains you to think that your own beautiful mug is socially, crucially important. If it weren't for social media, the plague would have never have left Peru or wherever. It wouldn't have gotten off that island. This supposed numbered man would never have been a thing. Have you seen the t-shirts, by the way? The ones that just have large numbers on their chest and back? Nothing else? We're what, a year out from the plague? And already it's cool to idolize the plague's creator, its author. How's that possible? You know the answer. Because the numbered man gets 140 million press releases every day. That's all it takes. Social media is making him a star. Just like Jennifer Dash. Why was she important? She wasn't. Not at all. In the streets, you did it. You slayed your own mother, lobbed her head right off. You know how? Do you know how you were able to do it? Because you didn't recognize her. You couldn't tell. If you could, well then maybe you'd be telling a different story today. Or more likely, you'd be dead. You're no stoic. You love your mother. You just didn't realize that's who you were killing. You're no different. You have a heart. You wouldn't have been able to do it. And she would have gotten to you. She was begging. She was begging. Oh yeah, she was begging. When you look on social media, do you know what you see? Goats. Goats that all have the same baying. Bah! Why don't we care about goats? The answer is simple. Because they all look the same. The average citizen of the world, in the months before the plague and bombs dropped, spent 14 hours a day online. At least 2/3 of that was on social media. You're looking at yourself all day long. And you're looking at each other. You're fostering a crime against reality. You're building yourselves up as gods. How do you know that? How can you have the audacious pomposity to say such a thing? Easy. Back when you made your dough as a PR consultant, the one thing you promised every client, you said you'll be a god among men. That was always the goal, and that always lured them in. Make the people fall in love with them, and then fall on their knees in front of their altar. You worship yourself. You do. Every day. Truth be told, you may worship yourself less than you worship that girl down the street whose profile pic has her fitting oh so snugly into those leopard pants. But, you know in your heart, you're no saint. You're not a saint at all. You're a god. So what do you do now? You work hard to redeem humanity. There are 3 things you must do to accomplish this task. 1. You must help the animal kingdom outnumber the humans. You breed goats, and when they're big enough, you transport them somewhere new. You're starting a goat movement. Mind you, it doesn't have to be goats. Any critter will do. You have a friend who's working on a snail farm. That's good. Go snails. 2. Shut down the internet. It's not that it's bad, per se. As previously stated, email is great. News is great. There are myriad benefits to being online, but the cost for all you non-facially blind people is far too steep. You brought this plague upon us, so night and day you struggle to break the internet. You and your brothers and sisters will succeed. It just takes time. 3. You break mirrors. This is, you must admit, something of admittance to this crowd. You may have noticed both the men's and women's mirrors in this building have been destroyed multiple times. You are the culprit, Tina. You did it. But listen. You take back your rightful place in this world when you treat yourself as normal. That's what you are, normal. Does the dog stare at his reflection? By no means. Does the cat care if you see it upchucking its daily furball? Of course not. Even as we study evolution, it makes sense to romanticize your lovers, not yourself. Not to this degree. Quit it. Take your face and stare at the world outside. People think you're crazy. You're not. You see the world as it is. Plague brought the judgment we deserved. Another one will come, unless we finally stop admiring ourselves all day long. Thank you. On cold rocky shores, just before dawn, the Intrepid and its 3 inhabitants set anchor. They didn't have to walk far. Emanuela Godard and her husband, Captain Alfred Bacon, had an oceanside view, a lumberous wooden contraption of a house. The first mate of the Orion opened the door to view the source of the knocking. Jenna smiled up at Godard, who held a swaddled, sleeping infant in her arms. Nate and Petra stood a little anxiously a step behind Jenna. "Hi," Jenna said expectantly, forgetting utterly that her former shipmate would not recognize her. Who was making that noise? "We don't accept solicitations," Godard said quietly but forcibly. "Hey, wait, it's me." "What's that noise?" Jenna said awkwardly. "What do you want?" "I need some help finding the island Lex and I were abandoned on." "I'm sorry, you have the wrong person." "No, Godard, Emanuela, first mate, it's me."
"Who is it? Who's that? Who is it?"
And before Godard had a chance to swing the door closed on whomever these unwanted guests were, her husband appeared in the hallway, wearing a thick flannel button-down long-sleeve shirt, every last button fastened tightly, with absolutely no pants or underwear underneath. His birthday suit on full display for everyone's eyes to behold. Jenna's mouth dropped. She stared. "Well, oh my dear, it's Jennifer Dash! Splendid! Where have you been, my little adventure genius?" Come in, Emanuela, have some class. Let them in, for Pete's blowing sake! Emanuela filled Petra's cup of coffee and sat on the love seat across from the couch the intrepid sailors now all sat on. "You don't look like Jennifer." "It's me. See?" Jenna leaned over and grabbed Godard's hand. She brought it to her face. Using Godard's hand, she covered her nose. "You see it, don't you?" "No. Prove it." "Where is your husband?" Petra asked timidly. "He's not well. He needs his rest." "What do you want?" "Like I said, I want to go to the island that Lex and I shipwrecked on after Pishtacos, but I don't know the way." "How do you know about that?" Godard, why did you dissect that monkey?" "Excuse me?" "I woke up in the middle of the night, and you were opening up the head of this monkey I hadn't seen before." "Nate, Petra, would you give me and, Miss Dash," Jen said. "Miss Dash, a moment alone, please." The grammar of the sentence should have made it a question, but Godard's intonation clearly projected a demand. Nate and Petra walked out, whispering to each other in Slovene. "What's going on?" Nate asked Petra. "Is she the Jen Dash?" "That's what it sounded like." "What do we do?" Petra asked. "Let's talk to the naked guy." "You've ruined us." "Who? Me?" Jen said dumbly. "We were all on the team together. You betrayed that." "What team?" "I lost my twins, Jennifer. Now I've lost my husband. What have you lost?" Why are you angry with me? What did I do?" "This could have been over." "What could have?" "The suffering. All the suffering." Nates and Petra found the voice attached to the quote, husband. He was in a bedroom, sitting up against the backboard. Thankfully, his body from the waist down was firmly tucked in under covers. His special place was hidden from view. Hey, Mr. Bacon?
The
man didn't look at them, didn't acknowledge their existence. Instead, he stared at the bookshelf on the other end of the room. His eyes weren't dull. No, they were highly active, perhaps scanning the books, desperately hunting for just the right one. Nates tiptoed closer. Petra put a cautious hand on his stomach. Nates, look. She didn't say where to look. She didn't have to. It was right there in plain sight. Sir Alfred Bacon wasn't just sitting in bed. He was chained. Both arms were attached to metal collars that curved around the bed frame. What's going on here? Petra whispered, then said aloud, Captain Alf? Nates and Petra looked at each other. They'd never seen someone imprisoned before. No wonder he was acting crazy. Sir?
Fate finds a way. It does.
Do you want us to help you? Do you need help?
We tried our hardest, but it'll come. Wait for it. You won't escape, no one will.
Escape what?
Leviathan.
What's Leviathan? Nates asked. He didn't know that word.
Leviathan is the end!
The end of what?
Me.
Why did you do it, Jen? Do what? Don't you remember where you come from? Come from? Did you forget everything so quickly? Look, I don't know what's happening here, but you're responsible for your own happiness, okay? I can't get you there. I'm not... My saint? Yeah, I'm not your saint. So... Is this your child? His name is George. George? It's the American form of Jorge. Oh! Robles! We had him last year, after everything transpired. But aren't you a little old? Sorry. We had help. Oh, well, I'm glad I got to meet you, George. You're coming here. It's a bad omen. How's that? It's bad for us or for you? What do you mean? My husband's not well. He couldn't handle knowing. I thought he could. I thought maybe if we had another son, then we could find hope in him. But I was wrong. Having George made everything real. Now I've got a stake in the future. And why's that bad? Because you and I both know this doesn't end well. Our chance for a happy ending left us when you shooed Leviathan away. You and your Atticus. You and your... what was his name? Marshal Winston. How do you know all this? The Piper may have gone into hiding, away from the likes of you, but he still has emissaries. We keep in touch. I'll give you the coordinates. I'm sure you'll make it, but you won't find what you're looking for. If you're so sure of yourself, what do you recommend I do? Sit on my thumbs until I go crazy like Alf? Sorry. That was uncalled for. They left the same hour, staying not even long enough to share a meal. You're Jennifer Dash, the real Jennifer Dash. Nate's asked Jennifer with a smirk on his face as he mounted the mainsail. Yep, sure am. As they left port, a loud voice was heard wandering the tree line just beyond the ocean front. What's that? Jen asked Petra. Your captain. We let him free. This is how Captain Alfred Bacon and First Mate Emanuela Godard exit our story. Emanuela, a mother again. A sad and angry one. The captain, running through the woods, naked and insane. Hey guys, this is Dante Stack. It is December, and that means Christmas time and giving presents to friends and family. Well, you've spent a lot of time with me, so I'd kind of like a Christmas present. If you want to tip me, I would be super grateful, especially in this month of December. Go ahead, do it. $1, $2, $5, $1,000,000, whatever. Go to DanteStack.com. There should be a button you can press at the top right of your screen that says Tip Jar. You click on that, and then you'll have two options to donate to me. One's through Squarespace in my website, DanteStack.com, and you should be able to give easily using whatever credit card you want there. Or if you don't feel comfortable about giving through, third-party sources that you're not really familiar with, I also have another option to give directly to me through PayPal. It's a pretty easy transaction. Anyway, I would really appreciate that, because you've listened for a long time, so help me have extra cheer for Christmas, guys. Tip jar, chip jar, tip jar. All music and sound effects used in this episode and every other episode of Solve the World can be found appropriately attributed at DanteStack.com on my show notes page. Thanks, guys. See ya.